How far will Terry McLaurin fall tonight? Where will the Cleveland Browns running backs be selected? And will Omari and Hampton continue to steam up Pros versus Joe's draft boards? Follow along with the live draft board tonight. Watch our pick-by-pick analysis as we call the action from the 2025 FFPC Pros versus Joe's Division number 5 ACDC tonight to see who's going to win a 2026 FFPC main event. We've got a great show for you. Farrell Elliott is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour special edition of PVJ starts now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob, and greetings and salutations go out to all of you Farelliacs and Bulkaholics. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Mr. Farrell Elliott. Tonight, we have the 5th of 6 special episodes for you. It's the 2025 FFPC Pros versus Joe's ACDC Division number 5 draft tonight, and we'll be covering it for its entire duration. Shout out to the chat room right now, be it on YouTube, X, or Facebook. Post any questions you might have in there. You could connect with us on X, by the way, at HSFF Hour. I'm at Eric Balkman. Farrell's Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship is at KFFSC.com. You can also connect with us on Facebook at facebook.com/HSFF or email us at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions, send them to us now. And throughout the broadcast, we'll try to get to them all tonight, thanks to the hard work of our producer and mutual friend, Rob, and, of course, our audio engineer and my best friend, Bryce. Want to let everybody know that the FFPC Main Event, our flagship event, has a $1 million grand prize once again this year. Get in now while you can. $600 off each additional team. You can draft live at Paris Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas with us in early September, or you can draft from the comfort of your own home whenever you like, because live and slow drafts are going on right now. The FFPC Big Gorilla is still going strong. A second contest with a second $1 million grand prize with the FFPC drafts going on each and every day on that. We're filling up, at least a half dozen every single day, not including slows. And I know we're filling up a bunch of those as well with 2-hour and 6-hour clocks. Remember, the 7 Bananas promo is live. If you keep getting that 7 pick multiple times in a row, we're going to keep giving you escalating teams, starting at the FFPC Best Ball Tournament, going all the way up to a Jungle Safari for 4 or 50 grand, whatever you'd like. MyFFPC.com is where to go for that. Best Ball Tournament going strong as well. The FFPC Classic Best Ball Tournament has added a $100,000 runner-up grand prize this year, and the FFPC Superflex Best Ball Tournament features a $100,000 grand prize. The Classic obviously still has that $300K grand prize. Enter for $125. Superflex is available at $35, and 2,000 plus dynasty leagues over the course of 15 years in the FFPC. None have ever folded, so make sure you're taking advantage of that at myffpc.com. Let's get into the program tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to flip my screen here so you can see it easily, and I'm going to flip my screen so I can see it easily as well. Drafting tonight, the fantasy guru himself from Fantasy Points, John Hansen had the first overall pick. No surprise there. He goes with Jamar Chase at the 101. By the way, I should tell everybody, too, the winner of this league will win a free entry into the 2026 FFPC Main Event to compete for a $1 million grand prize. The runner-up, Farrell Elliott, will give you a pair of socks this year. So very, very cool that Farrell has added that little wrinkle to Pros versus Joe's. There are 7 leagues. There are 6 live leagues, and then there is 1 slow draft. So 7 champions. The overall champion, the team that scores the most points out of all 84 teams, will get a custom-made belt courtesy of Darren Armani from Fantasy Mojo. FantasyMojo.com, at Fantasy Mojo on X. He is the godfather of the Pros versus Joe's Challenge. And anytime we cite ADP on this show, it is due to FantasyMojo.com. He'll be drafting in this competition tomorrow as well. Check it out. FantasyMojo.com is where to go for that. The Joe that is drafting in the second spot tonight, David Martino, goes with Bijan Robinson. CeeDee Lamb is the pick for Jared Smola off the board here. Jared Smola from Draft Sharks. He goes with Lamb at the 103 over Gibbs, over Barkley, over Bowers, and those just happen to be the next 3 picks. Gary Morgan, the FFPC Joe, takes Jahmyr Gibbs tonight. Scott Connor from Destination Devy, the pro there, who's really a Joe, has won a ton of FFPC main event leagues and finished very high up in the championship rounds as well. He gets Brock Bowers at the 105, Saquon Barkley to Shelley Fossum, longtime, very successful as a FFPC player. She goes with Barkley here at the 106. Couple of receivers after that. The legendary upside man himself, Pat Kerrane, goes with Justin Jefferson, followed by Daryl Burker, the FFPC Joe, taking Malik Neighbors. Christian McCaffrey rises up to the 109 tonight to Debro. That is Derek Brown from Fantasy Pros. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the pick to Ken and Kyle Orovets, who are drafting in the 10 spot tonight. Longtime FFPC players who have gone with the number 1 receiver for the Lions as their pick at the 10 spot. Wrapping up the first round, you have Ryan Kramer, who was just on FFPC Insider Access with me on the on the Better Sports Network last week. He and Sean Green from the Sports Gambling Podcast take the other tight end in the first round tonight in Trey McBride, and Ashton Genty off the board to Bill and Shelley Azell here at the 112 as the rookie running back wraps up the first round tonight. We are through the first round, and I want to welcome in the definitive commissioner of fantasy football to weigh in on what he has seen here. Jay Farrell Elliott, welcome aboard tonight. The man, the myth, the legend. How you doing, Farrell? Happy Monday night to you.
Thank you, Balky. I don't know. I am not a myth maker, nor have a legendary experience like some of our great. Oh, look what happened in the night. Look what just happened with team number 5.
Yeah, I know. We're going to talk about it.
I really am thrilled of the longtime players that I see here, especially when we start talking about the Azell brothers who have been making a living of kicking mine and other FFPC comrades to the curb in their years. I apologize for my lateness tonight. I had a long time getting home as we're having a very significant storm here in Louisville, Kentucky. And the temperature, Balky, went all the way from 96 degrees to 71. So we're feeling a little touch of Wisconsin here early. I can't wait to see you this week, brother. But until we get to that, do we have Pros versus Joes tonight and tomorrow night? Or is Wednesday night in play as well?
Yeah, we have tomorrow night is the last one. So tonight is the 5th of 6. Tomorrow night will be our last one. I'm actually going to tell everybody who's going to be on that one tomorrow. I already said Darren Armani is one of them. But we'll tell you coming up at the end of the show who else is going to be drafting tomorrow in our final live FFPC Pros versus Joes tournament. Let's talk about Team 5, Farrell, as round 2 is wrapping up. That is Scott Connor. Now, interesting story with Scott.
Everything Scott does is interesting.
Very interesting, yeah. Now, he was in my Scott Fishbowl draft, and I know we don't talk a whole lot about the Scott Fishbowl on this program, but I want to bring up what he did. The Scott Fishbowl, the scoring and the lineups gets crazier and crazier every year. This year, if you wanted to, Farrell, you have to start 11 players, but you could start 11 tight ends. You could start 11 running backs. You could start 11 receivers. You can only start 2 quarterbacks and then fill in the rest, any which way you want. It was a 22-round draft, and guess what Scott Connor did with all 22 of his picks?
Kickers.
All running backs. He went all running backs. From the 1 spot. He took 22 straight running backs. We'll see how it turns out for him. But no surprise here. He is pushing he's cranking purple, as Crack Rock would say, as he has gone Brock Bowers with his first pick, George Kittle at the 208. And I think the interesting thing with Kittle, he didn't really overdraft him. I mean, that's kind of where Kittle's being pushed up to. I mentioned to you either last night or last week, I can't remember, that I'm starting to warm up to George Kittle a little bit.
Yeah.
I drafted him for the first time in the KFFSC yesterday in the 3rd round of a KFFSC draft, which is obviously not tight end premium. And I feel good about it. You know, we spend all this time talking about Jawan Jennings and his contract, and then he hurts his calf, which he hurt in May. Same injury. We have Ricky Pearsall, who started off camp on PUP. We have Deebo Samuel in Washington. We have Brandon Ayuk recovering from a torn ACL. Maybe the obvious answer is staring us in the face, and we just should be drafting Kittle. You're a Kittle fan for sure.
I love Kittle. He's one of my favorite football players in the league. I don't think he justifies being the 3rd tight end off our tight end board. I'm waiting for him to prove me wrong, and when he does, I won't be surprised. But I think I could find another tight end that I would like to insert there, and his name's Kelsey, and he's in Kansas City. Because he doesn't have to do anything except catch passes. Kittle has to do everything for this team. But that's just the way that I break it down. And yeah, I really like this draft. This draft's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. And his third round pick there, I think, is coming in as a bargain.
His third round pick is Garrett Wilson, who comes in at the 305 tonight. He normally goes in this format. I just use FFPC Best Ball Tournament ADP from Darren from fantasymojo.com in this. I think it's the best representation of it. Maybe it's not the best. If you have feedback on that, definitely let me know. Garrett Wilson, wide receiver at 14 at the 307. So, I mean, pretty much on par. Right? Maybe a little bit of a reach, but 2 picks we're not going to pick.
No, we're not going to call it a reach. I thought Wilson was going a little earlier.
People have been. If you look over the last 2 days, he's gone as high in the best ball tournament, Farrell, as 208. So there are people out there that are drafting him well ahead of ADP. I mean, sometimes more than a half round ahead.
He's going to likely catch more passes than A.J. Brown, Marvin Harrison, Tyreek Hill.
If you look at, so I feel like we talked about this before, but it's worth bringing up again. Garrett Wilson has caught no fewer than 83 balls in any season in his career. He's gone 83, 95, and 101. He's gotten better every single year. His worst yardage year was 1,042 yards. And touchdowns, they're not sticky, but he did score 7 of them last year. And I just look at the Jets. I know they want to run the ball, and that's cute and that's adorable. But once you are down in games, you can't really just keep running the ball with Allen and Hall and Davis and all these guys. So I think, and because, who's the other guy on the Josh Reynolds? Is he the guy opposite him? Or
I love Spider-Man rules. I love him, but he's not a fantasy player.
So I just feel, and somebody was saying this today, I can't remember who, but Garrett Wilson could lead the NFL in target share this year just because he is the threat in that passing game for Justin Fields. Fields is notorious for, looking at his first option and then sometimes just taking off and running. Maybe that happens again this year, but it doesn't affect Garrett Wilson. So if Wilson Fields is going to hit him.
So, Balky, how would you like to have this team if you had Bowers, McConkey, and Wilson? Wouldn't that turn you on a little more than Bowers, Kittle, and Wilson? Not
in tight end premium. No, I just got, like I said, I'm warming up to George Kittle right now. So I feel like the Niners have an easier schedule than the Chargers, which maybe that makes McConkey the better play, I guess, if they're got negative game scripts. But Kittle just seems to be the guy. I think Purdy's going to zero in on him. I know you like Kelsey as the tight end 3. But tight end premium, I think Kittle catches he just scores more points than McConkey this year, and you only have to start 2 receivers. Give me the start that Scott Connor had here. I think the McConkey thing would have been fine, but I would prefer Kittle.
You talked about yards in Wilson's case. Let's take a look at Tyreek Hill. It's interesting when we talk about Barkley, and who got Barkley tonight? Is that Shelley?
Shelley got him. Shelley Fossen takes Saquon Barkley at the 106.
Good job, Shelley. When we talk about Barkley, everyone wants to come on and say that he cannot repeat the year that he had last year. And I keep saying, well, okay, if it's 10% less, it's still a better year than most, and it would validate a first-round draft pick for him. But let's take a look at Tyreek Hill when we start talking about yards per game. Balky, you got a number on that? I looked it up and was a little shocked. Even with everything I know that happened to Tyreek last year, average yards per game, Tyreek Hill last year.
All right, average yards per game, Tyreek Hill in 2024.
Don't look it up, guess.
Oh, I'm sorry. I looked it up already.
Oh, well, that takes the fun out of it.
I'll be honest with you. I did not think it was going to be as low as it was. That is
Go ahead and tell the nice people at home what it is.
So, according to Pro Football Reference, we're looking at 56.4 receiving yards a game for Tyreek Hill last year. For context sake, that same number was 112 per game in 2023. It was also over 100 in 2022. In fact, it's been over 70 yards a game every single year, except for last year and except his rookie season in 2016.
So my question then is for team number 2, Mr. Martino. I'd like to know if he's in the camp that doesn't believe in Barkley or doesn't believe in Hill. Which end of the spectrum, the great year or the worst year, do you not believe in?
I think you could still believe in Barkley. But I think you can like Bijan Robinson better.
Beloved 26er Brett Studebaker has made a comment here, and I love Brett, and I think Brett's a smart player. No way in the world, Brett, is how I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I get what he's coming at. He says, for those of you listening audio only, Brock Bowers is reminding me of the letdown, like Sam Laporta drop in year 2. I think Bowers is a better prospect, a better player than Laporta. I certainly could easily see him not doing what he did last year. But it's very hard for me to say he's going to have such a significant letdown that he is not worth a top half of the first round pick in an FFPC format. I can't go that far. But yeah, I mean, you could be right. He may not duplicate what he did.
Now, Scott Connor was as ballsy as I, as his press agent, claimed him to be. He would have gone ahead and picked Kelsey there.
Now that would have been. We have not seen a 3 tight end start.
Well, 3 out of the first 4. You know,
we haven't seen 3 out of the first. At least I don't think we've seen 3 out of the first 4.
Did you see me taking some medication earlier tonight, by the way, Bo?
I did not. Why?
Yeah, I was taking some medication. You started talking about the Scott Fish Bowl, and I.
Oh, sorry. Yes, yeah. Well, hopefully that headache clears up.
No, it's not. It's all over now.
The Tyreek Hill thing is interesting. Dave Martino gets him as his number 1 wide receiver at the 302 tonight. I want to go back before we press on in the 4th round here. I want to talk about what Ryan Kramer and Sean Green did, not necessarily in the first round with Trey McBride. I think that's a fine pick. The Puka Nacua pick at the 202. I think part of the risk with Nacua has always been the way he plays. He doesn't have respect for his body. He's just all, going all, what is it? All gas, no brake. That's how Nacua plays, which you can run into some problems injury-wise in that. Okay, well, we always knew that was going to be the case with Nacua all throughout drafting season, which started with the FFPC back in January. However, Farrell, this back thing that Matthew Stafford has right now, that's preventing him to play. They've already readjusted the timeline of when they expect him to come back. How nervous would you be about drafting Nacua at the end of the first, the early second round here, knowing, not necessarily now because it's still July, but if it comes early August and we don't see Stafford, it comes at what point do we need to see Stafford on the field throwing balls to Nacua before we're like, okay, now I feel good about taking Nacua where he's been going rather than having Jimmy Garoppolo or Stetson Bennett throw him the football when the real bullets start flying in September?
All of this together based on where Nacua is being drafted, the talent in front of him, the talent behind him is enough for me to forego Nacua. So it's an easy decision. For me, I don't know. I don't know particularly. I'm more interested in what you think about it, Bob.
If for Nacua,
yeah.
So right now, I'm not concerned. I shouldn't say not concerned. I have little concern for it. If we're talking about this thing next week and Stafford is still not practicing, I'm probably breaking ties against Nacua there. Like, for instance, if I was Kramer and Green there at the 11 spot tonight, I would have taken London ahead of him. I would have taken Brian Thomas ahead of him. I for sure would have taken Nico Collins ahead of him because I think those guys are all going to be very similar. And then once Nacua starts dropping into the mid second, okay, I guess I can look at him there if those guys are all gone, right? If it's 2 weeks from now and Stafford's still not out there, he's probably off my board in the second round. I probably wouldn't take him in the third round because then it's like, what's going on here? So right now, I'm not doing much here, but next week is when my spidey sense starts tingling a little bit.
Ooh, I like that, tingling. Oh, you and Mr. Studebaker are having a conversation. Well, it's fascinating. I think you gentlemen need to be reminded that Pete Carroll didn't get this job by walking in and saying, we're going to take the best player on this team and take the ball away from it. So let's just – and by the way, I don't know how often Myers is going Bowers is going to line up in a non-traditional tight end role in this offense, but I say it'll be often.
You know what's interesting there, and I grabbed my first share of Dante Thornton from the Raiders.
That was a smart move.
I was reading, and I can't remember who had this, but there is all these guys that are really successful playing the slot for Las Vegas, and that includes Bowers. It includes Jacoby Myers, and it also includes Jack Besh. When they go 3 wide receivers, they can't have all those guys on the same field. But the one guy that does seem to be going to be out there operating on the perimeter is Thornton. I drafted Geno Smith late in a best ball today as well. I'm still on board with him this year. So yeah, I mean, I think as far as that Raiders passing offense goes, there's still some fantasy goodness there if you attack it the right way in drafts. Moving on, Farrell, let's talk about let's stay on Kramer and Green's team here. McBride and Laporta, along with Josh Allen. Dave the Dizzle Gerzak and I, when we used to cover these many moons ago, we would often say it's very, very difficult, even in the FFPC, to draft an elite quarterback and an elite tight end on the same team because it costs you so much value running back and receiver. I would say over the last 3 years, that theory has been debunked by a lot of people who've had very successful teams going elite quarterback and elite tight end. Going elite quarterback and 2 elite tight ends in the first 4 rounds is interesting. I don't know if I don't like it. I think Adam Hahn, he might have said something about that earlier in the YouTube chat. I can't find it, but he said I thought he liked Adam. You can repeat it just because I'm not finding it here, but I thought he said that team 11, Kramer and Green, he really liked their first 4 picks. They're on the clock here again.
Well, Adam is God bless him. Adam doesn't like much of anything tonight. We're going to send him some bourbon candy if it doesn't melt.
Bourbon candy.
Oh, you never had bourbon balls?
No. What is?
Well, it's like the chocolate covered cherries and things like that. This is basically chocolate covered bourbon.
Really?
Yeah.
So is it still liquid? Or is it wow. Okay. Yeah, that does sound pretty good.
And imagine the nice soft caramel with a bourbon flavor.
Okay.
So
it's a chocolate covered soft bourbon caramel.
It's good. It's good stuff. It's a variety of stuff. I'll bring it. I'll have some at the. Okay. I'll bring some to Wisconsin.
That's fantastic.
Hey, can we still not get Kelsey drafted in this thing?
Apparently not. But I have to correct myself.
Oh, there we go.
I have to correct myself. Adam said Kramer and Green's build through 4 rounds was his least favorite.
He's a sourpuss tonight for a guy.
Well, but I mean, this is something that we've talked about, Farrell. You could get away with drafting a quarterback and a tight end early, both of them. You could definitely get away with it. The problem comes in now, apparently, with really getting cute and going with 2 tight ends and a quarterback. That I don't know if you could pull off. Now, Kramer and Green, they are longtime FFPC players. They've really blown up with the Sports Gambling Podcast on VSiN on Friday nights, too.
And they like taking a gamble.
And they like taking a gamble, and that's what they're doing here with McBride and Laporta.
They're stacking up those Detroits, too, Bucky.
And, they're setting themselves up for what quarterback they're going to be taking in a few rounds here, I would imagine. I'm not against the McBride-Laporta thing just because I don't recall seeing this build before. Adam could be right. This could be a train wreck. And now they've skipped running back through the first 6 rounds as they get Jalen Waddle here in the at the 602, which actually is not bad value. So we'll see how they couple that team together.
They borrow Scott Connor's cheat sheet. They know he's got 22 names on there, so they're going to be all right.
And that's it. Yeah, Scott Connor in Team 5 tonight. He has now 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, and 1 receiver to his name. What do you make of Team 10 here? That's Ken and Kyle Orovets, the FFPC Joes. They have, I don't know. I mean, as far as everybody pounding receiver, I don't think anybody's pounded receiver as hard as they have through 5 rounds tonight, Farrell. They go with St. Brown, London, Tetaroa, McMillan, and DK Metcalf. Amorian Hampton is the lone running back, and then Evan Engram here at tight end. Their squad through 6 rounds, very, very target heavy, I would say, with St. Brown, London, McMillan. I don't know about Metcalf in Pittsburgh, but I guess if they're going to throw it, it's got to be to him. And then Engram could be the number 2 receiver on that Broncos team behind Cortland Sutton, who is a freshly paid man today.
Oh, is he ever?
Yeah. And Hampton's going to catch a lot of passes there too. So, if you go into this Pros versus Joes draft with the attitude of I want to acquire as many targets as possible, and I know that's sort of a dirty word, the T word for you, Farrell, I don't think that's a bad way to approach it. And certainly they've acquired a lot of, hopefully, targets that are going to turn into catches through 6 rounds here.
Yeah, yes, I think so. And, I don't think targets – I probably need to clarify myself if that's the message I'm giving. Naturally, you want targets.
Yeah.
Naturally, targets mean different things in different places. And, the more we talk about targets from last year, the more we're talking about last year's teams, and it's just like this strength of schedule conversation. Well, we can talk about strength of schedule if we think the 2024 team's going to show up and play.
Right.
But everybody's trying to do something a little different than they did last year, except Philadelphia.
Hey,
Bulky, can we go back to that quarterback conversation?
Yeah, please. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was trying because I was thinking about that because we talked about it on other shows. And, here in Kentucky, we have defensive scoring that really can be a problem if your defense gives up points. So it can start moving that away from you. You can have a quarterback that throws a lot of touchdowns, but that's really a problem if he starts throwing interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And so these elite quarterbacks, and Lamar being the first one, I said, I wonder, Lamar was very, 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 very careful with the ball when he was in college. I think he coughed it up more fumbled as he did than picks. So I looked up how many picks last year to go with those 43 touchdowns, I think. I think that's right. I could be wrong. Bulky, how many interceptions Lamar Jackson last year? I was shocked at this number. Guess, don't look it up.
4.
Perfect. You're 100% right.
41 touchdowns, 4
41.
Picks. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's ringing true in my mind for sure this year. And then I always scratch my head when people take Josh Allen over him. And then I look at Josh Allen's stats and I'm like, well, maybe he should be going. It's 2 incredible seasons from those players last year with Allen and Jackson. So we have Derek Brown from Fantasy Pros hanging out on YouTube watching the show. He also happens to be drafting in this draft tonight, Farrell, and he's already posted that he got sniped on RJ Harvey, and Evan Engram. Harvey went to Pat Kerrane in round 5 from Legendary Upside. Evan Engram goes to the Oravetses here in the 6th round. So he has had to settle for George Pickens and Caleb Johnson, a former Steeler and a current Steeler. Not a bad way to go when you miss out on your guys. I like what Brown's doing here. Thomas, Evans, Pickens, McCaffrey, Walker, and Johnson. This is a bulky way of drafting where you always keep your team in balance. So then if the value does come to you, then you can scoop it up. Now, I think that strategy, for me, I do it less and less as we get deeper and deeper into drafting season, because then all the information comes out. Everybody has access to the same information. So the value doesn't fall to you in August and September the way it was falling to you back in May or back in June. And then I will start going with my unbalanced stuff where I'll draft, 4 receivers and a tight end, or I'll draft, 3 straight running backs or something. I'll do different builds at that point. But still, we're still in late July, and I still think there is some value falling here tonight. So that was Derek Brown's team we're talking about from the 9 spot. McCaffrey, Walker, Johnson, Thomas, Evans, Pickens. What do you make of the McCaffrey pick at the 109 tonight, ahead of Genty, ahead of Achane, and ahead of one Derrick Henry?
Seems to be where he's going. I wouldn't do it, but everyone else is. And I think what you're basically saying there is if he returns to form, which obviously people believe he will, and if he stays healthy, that he will deliver. So what you're doing is you're saying he should be the first player taken in the draft, and boy, I'm getting him at the number 9 spot.
Yeah.
There was a question earlier about are we ever going to get off of Chase for number 1? Well,
I have.
Yeah, and you should, especially if you've got multiple number 1s. Here where we bid when we play live, we bid for the draft spots, and I guess it'll always be Chase. That would be my idea. Hey, the one thing there's a lot of back and forth and hard to agree on a whole hell of a lot of anything in the comments tonight. But hey, I know something we can agree on. To give congratulations out to Pros versus Joe drafter Steve Guerra.
Galos.
Yeah.
The fantasy soprano.
The fantasy soprano. The baby has arrived as of last night at Katerina. So congratulations, soprano. So we might see Steve here in the message room or in the chat room before we finish tonight. But isn't that something special, Buck?
Steve and I were texting yesterday.
Good. I thought I had breaking news, exclusive breaking news.
No, he told me that his wife went into labor yesterday, And it was a few weeks early, but it sounds like everybody is doing good there, which is great. And because we were talking about the T-shirts, the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour T-shirts, which he is busy crafting together. And he said he's in the hospital with his wife, and it seemed like everything was good. And then I saw the photo. Chris Lambert, our wonderful FFPC customer service head, lead, whatever you want to call her, she posted a picture of it. He looked tired, but he looked happy, and has a lovely daughter. And what I think is interesting is that dude, every time in a slow draft, I've been several slow drafts with him, he makes his pick like instantly over the last 24 hours. He is still making his picks like instantly. He is in a big gorilla draft tonight.
He just jumped in.
and now he's in the chat. And now he's watching us too on YouTube. So that dude is the man, and fantastic news for him and the Urgaloses tonight, which is great to hear. So congratulations, Steve, who drafted on last Sunday, right, Farrell? Was it Sunday or Monday he was drafting in Pros versus Pros?
I've kind of lost track, but you know what? He's always going to have a presence with us, so he's here every night.
Adam Hahn has pointed out that Scott Connor, Pat Kerrane, and Derek Brown's team are his favorite pro team so far. And he just pointed out the Ravens stack, the mega stack that Pat Kerrane is building from the 7 spot tonight. Derrick Henry in the 2nd round, Lamar Jackson in the 3rd. He's gotten Zay Flowers in the 6th and Mark Andrews in the 7th as his number 1 tight end off the board. Will he add likely to? I don't know. But this is crazy town banana pants. I don't know if I've seen all 4 of these Ravens on one team so far this year. Oh, by the way, he has Harvey, Worthy, and Justin Jefferson as well.
Well, it's a nice situation. I would counter Adam by saying that Kerrane is a Joe at heart. You know, he's the pro with Joe blood running through his veins. And you know, those are the guys that are going to win this. Kerrane's used to winning, so why not? Very impressive.
Yeah, a guy who won wasn't that long ago that he cashed that big $2 million prize, and he's looking to win the 2026 FFPC Main Event entry with his Ravens mega stack here tonight. The Derek Brown, or not the Derek Brown squad. Who did I want to talk about next here? Let's go back to your Travis Kelce pick by the Azels here at the end of the 5th round. Farrell, knowing that, because you'll be drafting FFPC teams, you already have been drafting FFPC teams this year, knowing that you seem to be getting a bargain on Kelce, at least what you think he is going to do for fantasy this season. Are you good? Are you already heavy on Kelce? Are you going to plan on being heavy on Travis Kelce this year?
Oh, hell yes. If I'm in that draft, you'll have to if you want him, you'll have to spend a round more than what Mr. Armani says you should take him at.
Gary Morgan, our buddy from the 4 hole tonight, it's coming up on his pick. We're just a few picks away from him making a selection in the 8th round. Gibbs and Hubbard are his only running backs, but look at what he's done at receiver here, Farrell. McConkey, Harrison, McLaurin, Hunter, and Jawan Jennings. Knowing that you only have to start 2 receivers in this format, and again, this is best ball, you only have to start 2 receivers. You think that's overkill, or because you think you have the dual flex where essentially he could have 4 receivers playing for him every week? Is this a smart build from the 4 spot based on how the draft is going tonight?
Well, let's see what he does in 8 and 9. I really love the players. I love what he's putting together the players. And I would have had to pull the trigger on McConkey there too, and I can't complain. I got Gibbs and yeah, I really like the players. I would have taken Wilson over Harrison, but that's just me. Yeah. He's got all the receivers he needs. Let's see. And you know, he's a good player, so I want to see what he does with running backs. Then I want to consider those running backs. Maybe I've overlooked some of them. So it'll be very interesting to see what he comes up with. He's going to need a tight end. Maybe he thought he could get Kelce in the 8th round. You never know.
You know, Adam is chiming in that he thinks Team 4 is a strong build. Terry McLaurin normally going at the 406. He falls to the 409 tonight, so not a big drop. But, Farrell, I think that one of the great things about McLaurin, a player that I wasn't really in on this year because of how predicated his scoring was last year on touchdowns, I was like, he's probably going to be overrated in the drafts or overdrafted, and I just want to stay away from that player. Now, because of the hold in, as it were, I know he's dealing with an ankle injury, but I wonder if his value continues to fall where you can buy this dip on McLaurin. But ultimately, once they agree to that deal, and I do believe that they're going to agree to that deal. We will see him go up, and then at that point, I don't think I'll be drafting him. But right now, I think, end of the 4th round here for the number 1 receiver on a Jaden Daniels-led offense, I kind of like that.
It's a good time to get into that. And we've said all along that he shouldn't be losing status in these drafts, that you would be safe in drafting him. And his agent is there, I understand. I talked to a guy today that said he'd been there all weekend.
I don't see this in the chat, and I know it's not football. Just saw on X that Cubs former All-Star second baseman Ryan Sandberg, Farrell, you remember him?
Shit.
He actually has just passed away.
No.
65, yeah.
Wow.
R.I.P. Ryan Sandberg. And again, I know this is a fantasy football show, stream. But yeah, R.I.P. Rhino, who has passed away. A guy that I remember collected a lot of it. Probably still have a lot of his baseball cards. But I do believe that he had got cancer, beat the cancer, and then the cancer came back and spread as of December of last year. So sad news tonight that Rhino has passed away. R.I.P. to Ryan Sandberg.
He was a wonderful player.
He really was. He really was. Getting back to the draft here tonight, Farrell, I know it's a horrible transition, but what can you say? We have 8 quarterbacks off the board through 8 rounds. I want to say, okay, that's about on par. That's about what we're looking at. You can make the case that normally we'd see a few more here in the 8th round, as normally there's like 11 going off the board before round 9, I think. Yeah. And we only have 8 tonight. So we'll see what happens there. We've had 3 teams stack tight ends. We already talked about Scott Connor grabbing Bowers and Kittle. We talked about McBride and Laporta going to Kramer and Green from the Sports Gambling Podcast. But look what Daryl Burker has done right in between Pat Kerrane and Derek Brown. He has acquired Tucker Kraft and Tyler Warren on back-to-back picks. And we talked about how I'm starting to like Kittle. I'm starting to like Kraft a little bit more. It's more of a peer pressure thing with Tucker Kraft, because everybody I talk to is all in on Tucker Kraft. And I'm kind of like, well, maybe I'm the wrong guy on this one, or maybe I'm the wrong guy in this conversation. You never know. But with Kraft and Warren, I love the upside of both of those guys in a best ball format like this, where it is tight end premium. You go 6 rounds without taking any, and then you get 2 guys there. Would not surprise me if Tucker Kraft was a top 5 tight end this year. Would not surprise me if Tyler Warren was a top 10 tight end, and Daryl Burker only had to invest 7th and 8th round draft capital to acquire those players in this build.
I'll go with 2 top 10 tight ends. And Kraft has shown a propensity to have big games. So, yeah, in this format, I'm very cool with Kraft.
Derek Brown from Fantasy Pros chiming in on our YouTube stream too, who's drafting from the 9 spot tonight. He wanted Mark Andrews or Tucker Kraft after Shelley Fossum took Isaiah Pacheco, 2 picks away, and then Andrews and Kraft are both the picks, and he has to pivot again and get Jacoby Myers. So he's getting beat up a little bit here. The problem with a lot of these pros, and Derek is a really smart guy, but one of the problems is everybody knows, especially these Joes, they know who these players like, because they're writing about it, they're talking about it, they're posting on X about it, and so like you have to be prepared for these Joes snaking your guys away. And Derek Brown's a pro. I mean, he's been doing this for forever. He's in a ton of industry stuff too, and he's an expert at pivoting. But too, Farrell, in the high stakes games, especially the ones we'll have live at Paris Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas coming up in September, you have to be prepared to be sniped because if you're not, you end up panicking, you make a bad pick. That is a crucial point of drafting live for sure.
And I've always wondered why the Joes do so well at this at the expense of the pros. And I think it might be because the Joes are plugged into the subscription from Darren, where the pros are not. And I because you're going to be at a significant advantage. I'd like a poll from all the pros who might be subscribers to Darren's information.
I think that if they're smart, they would be subscribing to it. But I don't know. I have no idea. The chat room is hopping with what Pat Kerrane's latest stacking experience here. We talked about how he's gotten those 4 Ravens, and now he's gone back-to-back Buccaneers with Godwin And with Emeka Egbuka here, Farrell, what do you make of Godwin and Egbuka? Some would say non-complementary players. Some would say redundant players. And some would say would be playing very similar roles when Godwin is healthy. And maybe you can't get both of these guys on the field for a large plurality, at least percentage of the time for the snaps for the offense this year. But Godwin and Egbuka and Pros versus Joes, what do you make of that stack, knowing what we know about Godwin's injury and knowing what we know about the emergence of Egbuka in training camp?
He's going to say that his fourth receiver is going to be one of the Tampa Bay Bucks, and that fourth receiver might just perform for his scoring team beyond what guys are paying for third and fourth picks here. And so that makes sense to me. I like that. He's probably got a tight end. He's probably got a steady Eddie tight end that he can add to go with Andrews. No, I like that move. I like it a great deal.
You have created a mutant target monster here with Godwin and Egbuka, and I'm here for it. I love it. And the YouTube chat is chiming in too. Like, this managed leagues, it might be a problem. In best ball, it's not going to be a problem at all. So Kerrane obviously putting on something special here from the 7 spot tonight. I'm sure that the Kramer and Green from the 11 spot, the Sports Gambling Podcast guys, were not thrilled with Daryl Burker selecting Jared Goff as his number one quarterback, in the 9th round tonight. Goff ends up going there instead of on the Sports Gambling Podcast team that already had Sam Laporta, that already had Jamison Williams, and now will not get Goff. They still have Josh Allen. So, I mean, it's fine, but I'm sure that they were hoping for Goff there. What do you, Farrell, when you draft in best ball like this, I mean, do you always purposely try to match up your quarterbacks with players you already have on your team? Take this, for instance. Burker could have waited and not taken Goff here. He could have ended up grabbing C.J. Stroud later. He could have ended up grabbing, I don't know if you want to mess around with the Giants quarterbacks, but Russell Wilson later, or Jordan Love to pair with Tucker Kraft. He drafts a naked Jared Goff here, which is, I guess there's a stacking opportunity later on. I always try to avoid stuff like that, but maybe I'm overthinking it.
Well, Bucky, you're the pro I follow, so I would never say that you're overthinking. I think it's a great question. You look at the first round. There are 4 first-round draft picks, I think. Yeah, 4. Well, there's 2 Raiders in the first round. So
yep.
Those are teams that I would not try to pair my quarterback. I really wouldn't be interested in their quarterback. The rest of them, yeah, even the Minnesota quarterback, I would be interested in getting in business with them. I like the idea of stacking the top.
And by the way, Kerrane has completed the stack with Baker Mayfield coming back to him here at the 10:06. So he's got Godwin, Egbuka, Mayfield. He's got Andrews, Flowers, Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry, which is massive.
I think the guy's on fire, and he's going to go get some running backs here in a minute.
Speaking of stacks, look at the Packers one that Shelley Fossum has formed from the 6th spot. Josh Jacobs, Jaden Reed, and now Jordan Love, which is very interesting. Scott Connor has added Brock Purdy to George Kittle here as well, so he's certainly in the business of stacking. I want to get back to what you said, speaking of Bowers. You would not want to take Geno Smith in a format like this later on to go with Bowers. Why is that?
Well, I think he's probably the 16th to 18th best quarterback in fantasy production, and I want 2 quarterbacks to do better than that. Now,
you would take him as a third?
Well, yeah, but if I'm going to get 2 better to go to that, I'm going to wait awful late. This is only,
fine.
This is only what, a 20 rounder.
20 rounds, yeah.
Maybe, but no, I just
okay.
Because the question was about, do we always want to do it? Well, if I had those players, those picks, I don't want Atlanta's quarterback. Don't want anything going on with the New York Giants.
Boy, this was the quarterback round here, Farrell. 8
Look at him. Look at
off
him.
the board in round 10 here as we reach the halfway point.
Yeah, poor team 1. God bless them.
Yeah. Great name, Dak Prescott.
Give me a
Baker,
break, guys.
Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, Caleb Williams, J.J. McCarthy. And I guarantee the next time you hear John Hansen on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio or the Fantasy Points podcast with Brian Drake, who actually drafted in this competition last week, he is going to tell you exactly how bad his luck was in not taking a quarterback at the 901 and Jordan Mason.
Yeah.
And
you got to really love you some Jordan Mason ball. You got to really love that fourth running back.
But to his point, I mean, did he really think 9 quarterbacks were going to go off the board?
Yeah.
9 is a lot. I don't know if I would have.
He's a pro, isn't he?
He is a pro. He is a pro.
Know these damn things.
But this is one of the issues that you have when you draft on the ends, because when stuff like that happens, you're powerless. Like you have to just wait and wait and wait. Which I will say too. I talked about my builds earlier, where I will take more chances and do different and weird things as we get closer and closer to the start of draft season, as I think a lot of pros do. I mean, they get sick of doing the formulaic stuff. Some of them have been sick of doing the same thing even before the NFL draft. They want to vary it up a little bit. But I will be less likely to do that if I'm drafting in the 1 or 2 hole, or if I'm drafting in the 11 or 12 spot, knowing that if I get too cute, stuff like this could happen. Where, was he the only guy that didn't have a quarterback?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So he was the last one. John Hansen was the last one to draft one. Herbert and Stroud is a nice little rebound here. I think he probably adds another one. You think Herbert? Okay. So I want to get back to the Baker Mayfield discussion here in a little bit. Herbert is quarterback 16 at the 1101 on average. Hansen gets him as quarterback 18 right at the same spot. So fine value on him, whatever. That's normally where he goes. Do you think Herbert's a little bit underrated with McConkey and Johnston and Trey Harris there? And I know Gadsden's getting some love. Are people just hating on Herbert? Because I feel like he should be drafted higher because of Greg Roman, Harbaugh, Omari Hampton, Najee Harris. You think that's why people are letting him slip? I feel like he's been slipping to me, and I've been drafting him a lot.
Yeah, he's not going to beat you with his feet, and he's going to attempt at season's end, if everything goes at plan, he's going to attempt probably 100 passes less than a lot of these starting quarterbacks. So you've got to build that into his ceiling, and it's just not a very impressive ceiling for fantasy football, although he's one of my favorite guys to watch play.
They pointed out, I believe it was, Paul Teixeira in the chat, former guest of the show, by the way, has said that because of that big quarterback run after Kerrane took Mayfield from the 7th spot in the 10th round, we saw 7 more quarterbacks go off the board. Kerrane only had 2 running backs on his team. That's going to allow some other running backs to get back to him here. He's on the clock with 30 seconds to go. He has Derrick Henry, has RJ Harvey. I mean, he's very. I mean, I guess I could see him going tight end here. I think he probably goes running back. But those are the 2 positions he really needs. The question is, are there any Ravens or Buccaneers tight ends or running backs here that he could add on to the stack that he has created? He does go running back. It's Ramondre Stevenson here, which is. Have we talked about this, Farrell? Henderson at the 408 tonight, Ramondre Stevenson at the 1107. Is that too big of a gap between those 2 players?
I think so.
There's this thing called long COVID, right? I have what's called long rookie fever because I feel like I've been drafting too many rookies. I have one best ball team in the KFFSC where it's like, I was talking about this last night. It's like half rookies. And Farrell, I've drafted 3 tight ends on that team. They're all rookies.
Yeah,
I got Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, and Terrence Ferguson as my 3rd one. And I look at Travion Henderson going 7 rounds ahead of Ramondre Stevenson. I wonder if that's something that we look back and we're like, God, that we shouldn't have had that big a disparity. Or we could also equally look back on and say Henderson was going too low, especially if Stevenson continues the trajectory that he was on last year, where he was losing significant high-value snaps to Antonio Gibson.
Now that's significant analysis. Stevenson is still with the club, and we like him as a player. We've always liked him as a player. Here's a player that you're down on from other shows, and Gary Morgan took him, and I think it's a commentary on Herbert. If Morgan thought that Herbert could help him, that would have been maybe his second quarterback right there for his stack. I think he's waited a little too long on tight end, but I've got a guy in mind for him that I hope he takes him when he comes around again. But this is one of the interesting things will be to see how he handles tight end. I love to watch these drafts and see, if it's by accident that you have one tight end and a tight end premium league like this through 11 rounds, or if it's by design. And he might surprise us and show us that it's by design. And look what the Azell brothers did. Went out and got Pittman, Balky.
Good on them. Good on them for sure.
Please, they know what they're doing, those guys.
I have to bring up oh God. I think it was Roto Experts back in the day, I want to say. I believe it was Roto Experts. Tim McCullough, who has drafted in this format before and hasn't drafted it in a while. But Tim McCullough, back in the day, this was more than a decade ago, I think. And he ended up drafting. This was back when it was 28 rounds, Farrell. 28-round best ball draft. And Tim drafted because he thought it was a managed league, I think. He only drafted one tight end, Antonio Gates. That was his only tight end he drafted. And he ended up winning his league. It was really impressive stuff where he had one tight end in a 28-round draft, and he made it work and beat out 11 other. Now, he hit on some other big players, but I always bring it back to that when you talk about having a one tight end on accident. I think it was an accident for him, but it worked out. I don't think it works out again, but you never know. I want to talk to you about Quinshon Judkins. Scott Connor just took him here at the 11:05 tonight from the 5 spot. That's his number 4 running back off the board, Farrell. I don't have a good answer on this. I don't know how to handle him. And because I don't know what to expect, I've sort of been avoiding him. But maybe that's going to be to my own detriment. We could leave the off-field stuff. We don't have to, analyze everything there. But knowing that it's a very nebulous situation right now to us as fantasy players, what's the proper way to handle Quinshon Judkins? Is it 10th round, 11th round, like any of the double-digit rounds? What are you doing with him?
I don't know. Connor will have to come on the show and tell us. It seems to me that you got a lot of running backs. He's an Ohio guy, so maybe he's got some of that inside information. Maybe he's close to it and has a sense of what's going to go on. He is a pro, by the way.
He is a pro.
And he works damn hard at being a pro.
Yes,
I remember when he was at the Senior Bowl taking pictures, talking to the players. He's seriously into it.
Jared Smola, I can't believe we haven't talked about his team all night from the 3 spot. He stacks up a bunch of receivers and running backs early, and then round 8, he's been cranking purple and hitting the quarterback. Kincaid, Goddard, Caleb Williams, and Trevor Lawrence are his last 4 picks here. I am of the opinion that in a format like this, where you only have to start 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a tight end, and then you get those 2 flexes to play with, Farrell. You can kind of go however you want to go here and do that.
That's why it's a dual flex.
It's dual flex, yeah.
Whichever way you want to go.
And I like the yin and the yang here. Well, I guess I'm misusing that a little bit. Andrew Cooper from Fantasy Alarm has talked to us about that, taught us all that. Kincaid, the higher upside guy, Goddard, the steady Eddie. And then you have Caleb Williams and Trevor Lawrence, both guys that I think have the upside, but they have a certain amount of floor here. Both of them have new head coaches this year. Both of them have head coaches that are significant offensive minds that have had a lot of success in the NFL. And again, waiting until the 10th or 11th round to draft both these players. I think that's a nice way to do it. I don't see any stacks here with those players. Maybe I'm missing it. But we'll see what Jared does later on. But the last 4 picks I wanted to ask you about here with Smola and how he formed his team. Kincaid, Goddard, Williams, and Lawrence to go with all those backs and receivers in the first 7 rounds, Farrell.
Mm-hmm. I like all those players except Goddard. And even at that position, I might have taken Goddard. No, I probably would have taken other tight ends. But I think he overpaid for Goddard when he didn't have to. He sure bounced back with a nice pick there in the 12th round, too.
The Adam Hahn has pointed out that he likes all those picks except for Rashee Rice, who he took at the end of the 4th round, the 4-10. That's another player I've picked maybe once or twice just to say I have him. We just still don't have a good handle on that potential suspension coming down, and if it's only a couple of games, okay, whatever. But if it's like 6, I mean that's a huge chunk of the season, man.
It is. There has been some commentary here. We've thrown out some bye weeks for McBride and Laporta. That's an interesting thing.
They have the same one, although the sports gambling podcast guys have now taken Isaiah Likely, who does have a different bye week. So
there you go. Get in there, Isaiah. Yeah. Isaiah may be on the field 50 or 60% of snaps, and those are high value snaps.
Do you think that look at the disparity between Andrews and Likely here tonight? You're looking at Pat Kerrane ends up getting Mark Andrews at the 7:07 tonight. Likely goes at the 12:02, so about 4.5 rounds later. Does that make sense to you? I mean, John Harbaugh said that his expectation for Isaiah Likely this year is that he's an All-Pro, and it's tough to be an All-Pro if you're playing behind Mark Andrews, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Coach Harbaugh thinks 15 or 20, maybe 30 of his players are All-Pro. But what a great tight end selection! Andrews is 7th. That's a steal. Pitts, who everyone has given up on, but still in the 12th round. What a wonderful value for that. It's a great thing watching him draft. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, Pat's a talented drafter. David Martino is a very talented FFPC player. He was drafting from the 2nd spot tonight, and he ends up grabbing Bijan Robinson and Chase Brown to kick things off for his backfield. He's added James Cook, Tyjae Spears, and Trey Benson to that backfield. Since then, Tyreek Hill, Roma Dunze, Ricky Pearsall, and Marvin Mims at wideout. Ferguson and Gesicki are the tight ends, Burrow and McCarthy at quarterback. I'm just looking at this right now. I know it's only 2 receivers. You think he's solid enough up at the top with Hill, Odunze, and Pearsall? I mean, and then he doesn't draft another one till he grabs Marvin Mims here. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe his running back room is deep enough that he can get away with that. But I think Hill, Odunze, and Pearsall, I don't know, man. I have my doubts on those 3 functioning as a core that you can rely on for your receiver position this season.
I do too. Let's don't beat him up because we've got a few rounds left to see if he can get some guys. But yeah, he's taking very good players at these other positions. But I don't think he needed to pay such a price to get those guys. And so he's light at receiver, and you could argue that he's light at tight end in this type of format. So I think he got a little bit off the rails there. Sure started good.
I think that anybody who feels like they're light at tight end, I think that there's still some good guys out there that can really help you this season. I will say you get as far as Martino goes, he didn't draft the tight end until round 8, and he still got Jake Ferguson, 13th tight end off the board, a guy who is a player that is going to catch a lot of balls this year. You can make the case that, definitely he's no worse than the 3rd target on that team. He might be the 2nd target, depending upon how you feel about Pickens. But to get him in round 8, you know that you're going to have a steady Eddie guy there at the top of your tight end core. Gesicki is a player that now Farrell, you're the agent, so maybe I'm reading too much into this. The Bengals do not. It always seems like they're in some contract squabble with somebody. And they had an offseason where they had to find a way to pay Jamar Chase, had to find a way to pay T. Higgins, have to find a way to pay Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, the Shamar Stewart thing, we all know about that. They gave Mike Gesicki a $25 million contract. To me, that's pretty significant. And for a player that seems to be catching, 40, 50 balls every single year at tight end 22, for a guy who's probably going to get in the end zone a half dozen times, I don't know. I feel like we're undervaluing Mike Gesicki.
Probably are. They value him, veteran presence in that locker room and that team. And now, there was an unexpected boost in the salary cap this year brought on by some revenues from television and streaming that they necessarily didn't know or didn't have budget for. And that's why a lot of players of Gesicki's ilk, good guys that have been in the league a long time, were rewarded. And, Mr. Lee Snyder comes in. That's a very, very good point from fantasy ball. We've got to understand who's a good NFL player and who's a good fantasy player. You would think Gesicki gets more of that. He did a lot with 32% from a football perspective. he's not going to do enough for fantasy perspective.
The guys, we were talking about this team quite a bit tonight from the 11 spot, and I wanted to bring them on right now. They are streaming this live as well, so I know their time is valuable. Let's get into it right now. The Sports Gambling Podcast guys, Ryan Kramer and Sean Green, joining the show right now.
Oh, here we go. Let me unmute.
Guys, welcome aboard, my friends. How are you?
Hey, what's happening?
What's going on?
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks for popping aboard. We really appreciate it. So we've talked about your team a lot here. Let's talk about the first four picks: McBride, Nakua, Allen, Laporta. You guys double up with tight end after already taking a quarterback.
Yeah, no, I think we just kind of went best player available for us. We wanted to get some of those pass catchers. The 1.5 PPR point, obviously, for the tight ends. Very fun. I was saying we got to get one of those top 3 elite rushing quarterbacks, either Lamar, Josh Allen, or Hurts. Kramer is a Giants fan, so I couldn't get him all the way over to Jalen Hurts. But Josh Allen is going to win you a bunch of fantasy leagues. So I guess a little different. Like, we truly did punt on the running back, and now you see it in what we're trying to do here with our running back room. But, yeah, Kramer, what was our strategy?
Just something different. Be unique.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing I would do if there were 3 heads in that room instead of just you two. I would have said, let's go get Shakir. And we don't need a running back. Let's get Shakir. Yeah. Congratulations. I would think the same way you guys are, because I think that's a wonderful tandem you've got there.
Ryan, were you guys hoping that Goff was going to fall to you in the 9th round for Laporta, for Jameson Williams, or were you just pretty much set that we're not going to worry about it? We got Josh Allen.
Little shocked he went where I was shocked we didn't have an option to take Goff there. That was a little surprising.
Okay. I mentioned, Sean, the Nakua thing about how I'm not worried about Stafford's back right now. At what point do you guys start becoming concerned if this guy is still not on the field in training camp?
Yeah, with Matt Stafford, I think they're going to manage him. The back obviously is a little bit of a concern, but also Puka Nakua, put in any, whatever they end up doing with the backup there, put him in. They're just going to throw the ball a ton to Puka Nakua. So in full point PPR, I just would be really surprised if he doesn't get his. I'm a little worried about Puka Nakua's health, but being able to get him at the end of the first round, I think he's setting up for a massive year. I think Devontae Adams helps them a little bit more than it actually hurts them because it creates some good matchups for him. So I'm smashing Puka Nakua, and the quarterback stuff is a little bit of a concern, but he's going to get so many targets, I think, regardless of who's throwing it to him.
Oh, I see so many cool things you can do the rest of the way. You may be going to turn to some younger players as we move the rest of the way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nothing but young running backs. I mean, we probably have 4 more running backs ready to put out here. So we got a volume game.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about this, and I apologize for not pointing this out. You guys added Joshua Palmer in the 13th round to go with Shakir and Josh Allen. So you didn't get the line stack, but getting the Buffalo one, certainly a good one there. Ryan, the love you're getting from Mac Nova on YouTube right now. Respect to Kramer and Sean for doing a rare 0 RB team in 2025. You guys had pulled it off for certain. And this was, if you guys were going, Ryan, with BPA, you weren't really focusing on trying to do 0 RB.
I mean, it also just the guy once Omari and Hampton went right before us, that kind of set it off for me. And so, after that, I don't really love, maybe we have some regrets going Jalen Waddle over Caleb Johnson there, like getting a piece of the Arthur Smith situation. But no, I mean, after that, why not play a little running back chicken and then just load up and hopefully get enough to cover your bases through the and having Mixon, who knows what that turns into. I didn't think in a million years we would have ended up drafting him, but in the 10th round.
And Achan, if Achan was available, that would have been a real conversation there between him and Puka. So we're super high on Achan as well. Maybe we go Achan if he's available. So we didn't really go in saying 0 RB, but like the guys we liked early didn't fall to us, so we pivoted.
I love the quote of the Arthur Smith situation. That sounds like a thriller suspense movie that after you watched it, you really couldn't figure out what it was about.
It's a Guy Ritchie movie.
Yeah, or maybe a John Grisham novel turned.
Yeah, no, that's a little bit too much.
I was thinking of an indie band that we'll probably see this weekend, the Arthur Smith situation.
Yes, that's very good.
Hey, you guys are getting ready to wow. It's coming. I can see it.
So right now, you guys are on the clock. We're talking with Ryan Kramer and Sean Green from the Sports Gambling Podcast. They are on the clock at the 15-11. You guys are looking at 5 running backs, 3 tight ends, a quarterback, and 5 receivers. I'm guessing you're probably done at tight end, but anything's possible here. Take us through this pick.
I mean, we haven't really discussed it. Do we like the guy at the top of the queue?
Devin Neal?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm fine with.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I'm fine with him.
There we go.
Let's go.
Oh, you guys are wild, man.
Devin Neal is the pick here. Again, young running back, so which is what you're trying to acquire here. He goes with Dylan Sampson as another fellow rookie running back on your squad. Pat Bryant, Dante Thornton are the picks to the Yazell brothers right after that. You guys are on the clock again here in the 16th.
And again, did not really talk about this one, but I think we want to step out of line. Do we want to take the guy at the top of the queue?
Yes.
Ollie Gordon.
Smash this one.
Yeah, let's go.
Ollie Gordon, another rookie running back here. We'll see what happens there. So Neal and Gordon, it's all about upside at this point, right, Sean?
Yeah, no, 100%. And we're just obviously the running back position prone to injuries, and we just need one of these guys to fall into a fortunate stack. You know, I mean, Dylan Sampson, maybe he already has, with the Judkins thing going on, maybe he certainly has a clear path to his workload. Roshan Johnson, do we really know if Ben Johnson loves DeAndre Swift? We're about to find out. Devin Neal is behind an aging Alvin Kamara. That's massive upside. And Ollie Gordon, if anything happens to Devon Achane, they obviously brought him in for a reason. That Dolphins offense could put up a bunch of touchdowns. So, yeah, we're just kind of hoping something happens that makes these situations much better for him. But that's why it's best ball, right? We got 7 different bullets here.
I love the Dolphins putting up a lot of touchdowns. Haven't won a playoff game in 25 years, but they're going to put up a lot. And I agree with you. They should put up a lot of touchdowns. There's a Balky's talking about the money following Gesicki, and it brings to the attention a player that you guys could add from Los Angeles, and you probably won't add him because you're the receiver. And he got an $11 million contract this year. $11 million.
$11 million. Interesting.
$11 million for this receiver. There's a hint. We can't say his name because some pro is likely to get upset. Yeah. But no one's drafted him yet. So maybe the Sports Gambling Podcast will be the guys that would.
Yeah, that's our problem. We say the name on our stream, and then boom, they get drafted.
Everybody's watching your stream. That's why. That's
exactly right.
Guys, I'll let you get back to the draft here in a second. Ryan, number one, thank you so much for hopping aboard Insider Access with me last week, and I'm going to give you an opportunity here to plug the show once again and plug your appearances on the SGP on VSiN as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, we were talking about it, but football's back. We're live on VSiN every Friday night, 8 p.m. Pacific for a bit, switching to 7 p.m. Pacific in 2 or 3 weeks once the football season gets kicked off. And then, we're live 5 nights a week on YouTube, Sports Gambling Podcast. Check us out.
We're doing 32 NFL team previews right now. So kind of like really one episode per team, doing a deep dive. We usually bring in a guest, walking through the schedule, favorite bets, angles, little fantasy.
Just did the
and
Jags.
Then you talk about running backs the rest of the week.
We talked about the Jags earlier today. Have them winning 13 games. So
Tank Bigsby
check out the preview.
Tank Bigsby was my guy I really wanted. So I'm glad we got him on the squad.
You guys just posted the Dolphins team preview as well. So for more Ollie Gordon goodness, check that out. Absolutely. Follow these guys on X at Sean T. Green, at Kramer Centric, and then at Gambling Podcast. The Patreon, the Spotify, the YouTube, the Discord, it's all on the X profile. Guys, we'll let you get back to your stream. Thanks so much for making us a part of your evening tonight. Good luck the rest of the way, and good luck the rest of the drafting season as well. Keep up the great work.
Cheers.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
You got it. That is Ryan Kramer.
With guys like that available to contribute to the show, how the hell did I ever get on the show? I have no idea how that happened.
Well, listen, we every steak needs its grill.
Sizzle.
Every drink needs its straw, and we are just the vehicle that allow people to consume all the fantasy greatness from these pros and Joes that have
There's a lot
joined
of
us.
fantasy greatness going on.
A lot of fantasy greatness. So that was cool. Neil and Gordon go off the board there. I have to bring up what Mac Nova said earlier in the broadcast. He said it's going to be he can't wait to see what D-Bro's tight end room looks like. Now, Derek Brown is drafting from the 9 spot tonight. He did not draft the tight end until round 13, Farrell. He did not take a single tight end. He was the last player to take a tight end, and now 3 out of his last 4 picks have been tight ends. He got Mason Taylor in the 13th, Tyler Higbee in the 15th, and Terrence Ferguson in the 16th. So he got that Rams tight end mutant stack there, the mutant tight end monster in Los Angeles with Higbee and Ferguson. Mason Taylor as well. So 2 out of those 3 guys are rookies. 2 out of those 3 guys play on the same team. How concerned are you about Derek Brown's tight ends, baking in the fact that he had a really strong draft at the other 3 positions?
What I think about this so far is that Derek will hopefully have a 2026 Pros versus Jones team and can challenge again, because he and that's the thing. You pay the price. I don't understand the third quarterback sandwich in there either, but you pay the price if you wait too long by overcompensating and throwing darts. And there's a lot of good players that have been drafted around it while he's been having to pay attention to this position.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, and he just adds another running back. In fact, he's got 5 running backs, Farrell. 3 of them are rookies, and Caleb Johnson, Cam Scadaboo, and DJ Giddens. I actually like the squad when you combine it with McCaffrey and Walker. And this is, again, first gets paid out, second place gets socks, third place gets nothing. So when you're talking about this team, if you're going to take McCaffrey at the 109, if he gets hurt, your team's probably up in smoke anyway. So you have to draft this team if you're taking McCaffrey based on McCaffrey staying healthy all season. That's the way you draft the rest of the squad. Brian Thomas, Mike Evans, George Pickens, Jacoby Myers, Jaden Higgins, Trey Harris. There's a lot of floor there. There's a significant amount of ceiling, too, with some of these players. And then, again, waiting on quarterback to still get Fields, Prescott, and Tagovailoa. I get it. I'm fine. I mean, I would have not been comfortable. I know you didn't like the pick. I would have not been comfortable with Fields and Prescott as my only 2 quarterbacks. I would have had to get a third quarterback. I would not have waited as long as he did at tight end, but these types of things can pay off sometimes if you snag one of these tight ends late. How often do we see it? A tight end drafted outside the top 15 or outside the top 20 ends up being a top 10 or maybe sometimes a top 5 guy. I don't know if any of those guys represent that this year, but I will ask you about Mason Taylor because we talked about Garrett Wilson earlier. He's the lone target in New York. If there is a second one, it might be Mason Taylor.
It might be. I'm not willing to make that guy mine.
First
tight end, but
he is his first tight end. But what about him in the 13th round?
No. I think there are better choices, including Arroyo, who has some smoke at that position there in Seattle.
Yeah, am I seeing things, or is he?
Did he go before or after?
I don't see him off the.
Arroyo's gone. Yeah, he's over to team 2.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. He was. Right after Ferguson and Gesicki. So Martino adds Arroyo, which I think is a really good.
Which now, and one of the guys said, quarterback by committee. That's a committee that's going to show up, or tight end by committee. Over here with these 3 players, you wonder, they're like the ladies that show up for the church committee, but they don't come.
Yeah, and the thing with Higbee and Ferguson is, like, obviously you're only going to do that in best ball. You're not going to do that in a managed league. But I think that could work out. But at that point, Farrell, you're still basically drafting one player with 2 late-round picks. He probably needs to add one more tight end here, right? We got 34 of them off the board. They're drying up, but don't you think he needs one more? He needs to crank purple one more time here?
Well, I think after Harold Fannin, that does it. I'm not really sure who's left.
Jatavian Sanders, that's who's left. He just went off the board, Debro, and he's an up-and-coming guy. We'll see what happens there. Debro already commenting on here. He did want Arroyo, but Arroyo never made it back to him. He took. I guess you could have made the case that he should have taken him over Tagovailoa, but then if you miss out on Tagovailoa, You're looking at Cam Ward as your third quarterback, Anthony Richardson, Sam Darnold. I don't know. It's a tough thing, especially when you get late in this draft. Brashard Smith and Kareem Hunt go back-to-back picks to Daryl Burker, who does not have any other Kansas City running backs on his squad. Is that a smart stack in best ball, Farrell, where you get Smith and Hunt late? I'm talking about the 16th and 17th round.
He's got a reason for that, and I'd like to know it. I don't particularly like his next pick.
He's gone 3 straight Chiefs with Noah Gray now.
Yeah, I'm not. If you're gonna throw darts at the wall, hitting Kansas City Chiefs is not the worst thing that can happen to you. But no, I'm not gonna buy into that. But I do really like Hunt.
Look at what the Azell brothers have done from the 12 spot here, Farrell. I know you can't see the top of the board, but Genty and Achane were their first 2 picks, so they do have them. They take Swift in the 6th, Robinson in the 8th, and not a single running back after that, which, okay, I get it. But the receivers, Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, Matthew Golden, Michael Pittman, Rashid Shaheed, Brandon Ayuk, Pat Bryant, Dante Thornton, and Jalen Royals. I believe, if memory serves me correctly, you have drafted against these guys in best ball leagues out in Las Vegas, right?
More
main events,
managed leagues, more main events. But
right.
I've always had great respect for, what I love about these guys. They've first of all been doing it a long time. They do it together as brothers, and they have a blast and very knowledgeable, and they win. Now here they're trying to prove, and they're probably curious. The people that they're most likely trying to prove are themselves that they can make this work. And maybe they're going to pull out a couple green stickers right here at the end that will be their guys, their mystery guys. So we'll see what that.
I would have liked to see. Okay, so the Ayuk pick I think was interesting in the 14th. I think that's solid value, but I would have liked to see another tight end instead of some of these receivers late. They only have Kelsey and Ertz. Now you might say that's enough, but I think they need one more. And now there's 38 of them off the board. I don't know if there's anybody left unless you want like Tyler Conklin or somebody like that.
Yeah, so they'll probably skip on that. They'll probably skip right. And there's one interesting running back that is interesting is a foolish word and not unimaginative word. There is one explosive running back who would make sense for this team if they would draft him. And I'm not going to say the name, not that anyone's listening to me, but nevertheless, there he just went. Mostert,
yeah.
Mostert would have made an entertaining pick for them.
The rookie running backs for the SGP guys in round 11, I think, are interesting because we saw last year running backs, the elite running backs in rounds 1 and 2, by and large, they stayed healthy for the most part all season, Farrell, which is something that we don't normally see. Mm-hmm. And I feel like because we are all, if you are drafting in fantasy football, you have at least a little bit of the recency bias virus, and I'm guilty of this as well. Sometimes I think what happened last year stands a pretty good chance of happening again this year. But I don't think that's the case with that. And you look at all these rookie running backs that they have added here. Devin Neal behind Kamara, Ollie Gordon behind Achane, Woody Marks. What do you make of? I mean, I guess it's cool that they have Joe Mixon and Woody Marks on the same team, but Joe Mixon is up in the air. And you heard him when they were on the show. They didn't have any inkling that they're going to be able to get Joe Mixon here in the 10th round. And then Jarquez Hunter, who's behind Kyron Williams as well. We could see these guys pop. And I always say they don't need to pop for the whole season. If they pop for 3-4 games, that is a huge addition to these Pros versus Joes teams. And sometimes that can make all the difference. So I like what they're doing here. I don't know if they're going to keep stacking up the green stickers here going forward, but they have been a fun team to watch here.
Team 11 must go yellow, and Team 12 must go green, Balky, and it's the most exciting 19-20 turn we've had.
I mean, I would say green and purple for the Azels. I do think they need to slap in a tight end there. Who? I don't know. I mean, there's probably a couple of guys out there that would give you something. Kelsey and Ertz do have different buys at least, but You got to do something there.
You could draft the other Raider tight end.
Yep.
Draft the other Bears tight end.
Yes, you could do that as well. So hopefully the Azels are listening to us when we say that.
Waller came out of retirement. Maybe Delaney Walker will too.
Brent Studebaker says, as Team 11 only have one quarterback. That is accurate. The SGP guys only have one quarterback. His name is Josh Allen. So that'd be another one. They go yellow here, Farrell, with Roman Wilson with their penultimate pick. But yeah, it would be nice to get a second quarterback.
Hey, we called it for Team 20.
Purple and green, baby. Cole Kmet, you were right on that. And then Kendra Miller from New Orleans going off the board after that as well. So there you go. The Azels team is complete. The Sports Gambling Podcast.
Let's see if the fellas can do it. Let's see if they can bring in that highly paid receiver.
Well, I think quarterback is what I would do here, Farrell, because if Josh, again, you draft this team.
Well, he's got a bye week. You don't want to ever take a zero.
Yeah, you don't want to take a zero. But I guess if you draft the team based on Josh Allen being Josh Allen, if he gets hurt, your team is probably done anyway, which is what I said with McCaffrey before with Debro's team. They have 20 seconds left here after taking Roman Wilson at the 1911. They grab Joe Flacco. So it's Josh Allen and it's Joe Flacco. They did grab a quarterback there.
Joe really put up some good numbers when he played last year.
What were they good?
Well, if you go look, you can make a case that he was productive within that situation.
Yeah, within the situation.
Let's go look. There was some nice things about some of his. He has a stretch of 5 games where he was not a disaster on a team that just was not very good.
1,700 yards, 12 touchdowns, 7 picks. It's quite frankly, it's better than I thought.
Yeah. Good.
So
Didn't he have some multi-touchdown games in there?
That is a great point. I'm seeing if I can find it right now. Mm-hmm. If I can get that. Why can I not get that?
Not a couple 2s. I don't think he had a 3.
He did have a 3 touchdown game last year against the Jaguars. That was a 37-34 loss. He also threw for 359 yards that game too.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Actually, that span right there, it was 3 games, weeks 4 through 6. He had 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, and 2 touchdowns. So out of his 7 touchdowns, 7 of them came. Oh, no, how I must be looking at this wrong. No, I am looking at this right. He had 12 touchdowns. So out of his 12 touchdowns, 7 of them came within a 3-week span. So there you go.
What was interesting, because I saw that team play the Raiders live in week 3, and then I was just, they played so poorly that I wanted to see if they should show any improvement, and they immediately did. They had a little run where they showed some improvement.
Henry Muto brings up a good point too. Josh Allen's bye week is week 7. Is Joe Flacco still going to be the starting quarterback in week 7? We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen there. Noah Fant is still a free agent, Farrell. He gets taken by Shelley Fossum here in the 20th round. Where do you think he lands? Is there a good spot for him right now?
UFL maybe?
You don't think
I don't know. I really don't know. Has there been anyone that is this underperformed perhaps expectations? There was commentary way back early in the chat room about Seattle not being a tight end destination. And I guess Denver wasn't either. He's had 2 cracks with 2 teams. Right. I don't know.
I still like this Dontavian Wicks pick in the 20th round. I think that's really good value.
I've always been a fan of that player.
I know catching is important to being a receiver, but all he's got to do is figure out how to catch the football. And I will say this for anybody who's interested in Wicks, if you follow the beat reporters up here in Green Bay, they will tell you that it's practices. I get it. But Wicks has been catching everything, has not had any drops in training camp so far.
That's what you want to do in practice.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. We're up to the last couple of picks here in Pros versus Joes. Night number 5, Jordan Whittington is the penultimate pick tonight. Whittington's been turning some heads in Los Angeles too, Farrell.
Yes, he is.
Alec is the
There
final pick tonight for John Hansen. The fantasy guru himself takes Aya Manor to end things tonight, and that will conclude Pros versus Joes, division number 5. This is the ACDC division. Congratulations to all the drafters. This was Farrell, you said it in the second round, this is going to be a fun draft to cover, and it really was.
It really was, and it's been totally unlike all of our other drafts. Of course, team number one, that was the guy that must really like Jordan Mason. And, he did the terrible faux pas of drafting Downs before Pittman. But, I'll have to get over that on my own time. But I really like what he's got going on with those Tennessee players. So, yeah, so far so good for him.
Yeah, from Scott Connor starting off with a pair of tight ends to the sports gambling guys taking 2 tight ends and a quarterback in the first 4 rounds.
Scott Connor is a disruptor. And I think we say this was, when we say this is completely different, it's a tip of the hat to the disruptor.
We had a little bit of everything. Like those 2 things I mentioned, John Hansen getting just absolutely destroyed at quarterback in the 10th round, waiting while all these quarterbacks are getting picked. And then you look at D-Bro's team, Derek Brown from the 9 spot who waited on tight end, still gets Mason Taylor, Tyler Higbee, Terrence Ferguson, Jatavian Sanders. Will that be enough? I don't know. It might be. It was so much fun. There was so much crazy stuff that happened in this draft tonight. And there is, what one team did affected a couple of others. What another team did affected a few other. It was this is exactly why you watch these shows. It's why we commentate them. Farrell, it was a blast, man, and we get to do
this one was so good, Balky. I think we should have some look-ins during our regular Friday night shows, or maybe with our overtime shows.
Yeah.
We should maybe have some look-ins on this because it'll be interesting with this team with these unusual tight ends. I wonder if he'll ever get 10 points out of the top.
Did we lose Farrell? We may have lost Farrell. I'm going to bump him out, put him back in.
Tight end position.
There we go. Farrell, did you lose me there? I'm sorry.
I lost power. We're having such great storms. There's noisy dogs are climbing under couches and things, and it's all kinds of stuff. But I'm sticking with you, Balky. I really don't care. I'm just here to live with you in fantasy football.
Well, thank you. And on that note, I will rather than mess around with the internet and power in Louisville tonight, let's put a pin in it until 10 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, when you and I will be joined by Dave Terpoli to do the final Pros versus Joes of 2025. We will continue to check out the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. KFFSC.com is where to go. Of course, at KFFSC Official on X, and plenty of spots still available online. Louisville and Northern Kentucky, there's a few spots as well if you want to draft live this season too.
Yes, I would love to hear from you guys. Just give me a call. That's the best thing we can do at this point in time. Just get in touch with me and we'll talk it out.
What's the phone number? I'll post it on the YouTube right now.
502-523-5057.
That is Farrell's phone number. If you ever have any questions about the KFFSC or need any assistance in registering or anything, give him a buzz there. I posted it on YouTube, so you can check it out there. Farrell, let's do it again tomorrow. Rest up those dulcet tones, those vocal cords, and I'll talk with you tomorrow evening.
See you, brother.
That is Farrell Elliott, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, ladies and gentlemen. That will complete our broadcast for Pros versus Joes number 5. As a reminder, the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour normally airs at 10 p.m. Fridays Eastern Time on the FFPC socials. You can check that out on demand on any of, probably 3 different podcast networks. We're on there as well if you are an audio-only guy, which I totally get as well. That will complete our show. Thanks to Darren Armani, Farrell Elliott, Ryan Kramer, Sean Green, the FFPC, our producer and mutual friend Rob, audio engineer, my best friend Bryce, and of course, all our viewers and listeners. Coming up tomorrow, it is the final Pros versus Joes draft of the season. We'll be live at 10 p.m. Eastern Time with the Rolling Stones division. The Joes include John Rozak, Nate Modisette, and Stephen Perry, Nick Thompson, Scott Schoenwolf, Eric Young, and Todd Aaron, who was just on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour 2 weeks ago. So it was a great interview from him. He gave us a preview of what he's going to do against these pros, which include Theo Greminger from Fantasy Points, John Paulson from 4 for 4, the Godfather himself, Darren Armani from Fantasy Mojo, Mike Nazarick from the Fantasy Football Mastermind website, Doug Orth, who is going to be joining us as well, and then Jim Coventry from RotoWire. So all those guys will be drafting tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of fun. We hope you join us with myself, Farrell, and Dave Terpoli, the 14-time FFPC League champ. with coverage starting at 10 p.m. The main event, slow drafts and live events with the FFPC are off and running. So check that out at myffpc.com. $1 million grand prize, $6 million plus prize pool. If you're already in it, remember you're going to get $600 off each additional team as well. The FFPC Big Gorilla is going on. In fact, I'm commissioning a couple of drafts tonight. There are spots still available in the 11 o'clock draft, which is coming up in about a half hour. And we got spots available in the midnight draft, which is in about an hour and a half. So check that out. myffpc.com, $1 million grand prize, just $350 to enter. You're going to get a $50 discount on every third team you sign up for. If you are still in best ball season, hey, we encourage that behavior too. FFPC best ball and Superflex best ball tournaments live at myffpc.com. Dynasty startups there as well. 2,000 plus dynasty leagues in 15 years, and we've never had a single one fold. So once you're playing dynasty with the FFPC, you are in for the long haul. Check out the KFFSC at kffsc.com as well. For Farrell Elliott, I'm Eric Balkman. This has been live coverage on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour of the Pros versus Joes ACDC Division number 5. We'll be back with Division number 6 tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Your week officially continues now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Farrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Paul Teixeira pointing out on YouTube that Terp is holding out for better contract. I can confirm this is not a hold-in or a holdout from Terp. He will be live with us tomorrow. Had some crazy stuff going on the last couple of weeks, so it's awesome that he has been a part of 2 Pros versus Joes draft so far. He's going to be part of another one tomorrow, which we can't wait for, and we can't wait to see you there. Thanks so much for showing up and showing out tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We will give you a break here and be back at it in about 23 and a half hours.